Good afternoon, and I'm the moderator, so I also better finish on time because I have actually a flight to catch to Bangalore in about 2.5 hours time. So which means you'll be very happy I will finish on time, approximately 30 minutes. Now, most of you already got an idea of the work that all of us do. Most of us in the people's management, human resources, and organizational leadership. Our topic is around when we are bringing AI and the transformation and the transition, what are the areas we have to look into? We got a great panel here, and we're going to go straight on our first question. And the first question is around, as leaders, what sort of mindset that we need to bring when we are looking at bringing this transition? Because it's a process and it involves change. What sort of mindset that we need to bring? So we're going to start with you first, Vidya. Yeah.
Namaskar, Devior Sajjano. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the question. If I could request everyone in the audience to do a small piece of activity along with me, does that work? Everybody? Yes. So I'd request everyone to stretch out both your arms as much as possible. Stretch out both your arms, shoulder level. Everybody? Everyone? Mr. Sareen, we do have some lazy people in the audience. Yes. So if we could stretch it out? Okay. So that's my first answer of being open. Please keep it stretched. Thank you. So that's my first answer from the leadership, to be as open as possible to the AI concept. When you kept your hands open, did you touch someone else? Were there obstacles? Yes? Did you have some shoulders bracing? No? Okay, there are some executives who are in the front. You know, some executives don't get braced at all. But the other leaders in the group, did you have some shoulders bracing, fingers touching each other? That probably could be the small obstacles that you're going to face. But openness will really help. That's point number one. Point number two, another activity. If I request everyone to raise your right hand as much as you can, high above. Thank you very much. If you could raise it straight and keep it there. Okay, your left hand, if you could raise it at shoulder level, keep it at shoulder level. Everybody. Yes, thank you. Are they at the same level? Please keep it there. Are you at the same? Are the two hands at the same level? No. So the raised hands is the executive leadership. You get information firsthand, but everyone else is probably shoulder level on your team. So it's about inclusivity. So if I could request everyone to put your hands, both your hands on shoulder level. So bring everyone on board when you're getting AI. So everyone is equal. That really, really will help. Okay, and the third point that I want to talk about is, may I request everyone to take a look at your 5 fingers? Everyone, if you could keep it here and take a look at them. Are they all of the same size? No? Did God or whoever created us design them to be the same size? No, why not? Why can't we have the same type of fingers or the same size of fingers? Each has its own function. Can we all fold our fingers and bring them together? Do they come to the same level now, irrespective of the size? So that's empowerment. So when we empower, not just as leaders, but everyone, and let them know how much AI is going to empower everyone at an equal level, I think that will help. And the fourth point that I want to talk, and I want to ask everyone in the room, was there a situation maybe yesterday or today at your table where you walked out, you walked back in, there was someone else seated on your chair? Yes? That was at my table as well. And I'm the person who did it. Someone walked out, and I walked in, and I occupied a chair. So that's fear of displacement. I think Mr. Sareen also pointed it out. Fear of displacement is definitely going to be there, but I think we can all accommodate each other in our teams and organizations if we are ready to move a little bit, adjust a little bit, and let AI, which is awkward intelligence today, become artificial intelligence. I think that's my answer to the leadership.
Yeah, thank you very much. I also think that you had a good stretching exercise while you also learn the answer. I also would like one of our other panelists to add on to this. Essie, what's your take on this sort of the mindset that the leadership needs to bring in? Because certainly not everybody in the organization will be on the same page, and when you transform the organization using AI, whatever the process is, the role of leadership is important. So what's the mindset we need to bring on? Yeah, this microphone.
One of the things which is important is to understand that everybody in the organization doesn't carry the same mindset. We are all diverse set of people with different cultural backgrounds. And I'm talking here strictly in the Indian context. Two things which are very, very important. One is to have an empathetic approach. The second is to have an agile frame of mind. Be open, as one of my co-panelists already said. The third thing, to keep it short, is important that you understand who are the people who can, for lack of a better word, sabotage the process. You need to get them on board first before you get the leadership on board. Those set of people will be the key people who will help in cultivating a mindset below the surface. You know, it's very easy for the leadership to say something, but it's very difficult for people down the line to accept it. Acceptance is at two levels. One is because people are saying, the leadership is saying, the organization is saying, you accept it. The second part is you accept it from within, and I think that is what is more important here. So an agile mindset with an empathetic approach would probably help in shifting this mindset.
Thank you. I once had an opportunity to do a bit of consulting work with a company where they spend a lot of money on transforming their payroll process and accounts receivable and payable. So a little bit of accounting part and administration into using software. So obviously a bit of AI was included in it. And they spent a lot of money, lots of training. The transformation was done, and a couple of months after, they actually went back to exactly what they were doing before. And after reviewing the case, I realized the problem actually was not with the people who are ready to do it. It was really the leadership case. In fact, their top leader did not believe that such a transformation will make people more productive. And then I had the opportunity to involve in bringing everybody together. And like both of you rightly mentioned, those points are important. And one key takeaway is that the mindset that you bring in. Now, it is obviously an important element to know that you will always have barriers to these sort of things. Because there really is no right formula here. What works well for one organization may not work well for the others. So looking at the barriers and challenges that we may have experienced, I would like to go first with you on this, Edith. In regards to the challenges that organizations will come across, when you're transforming the process, whether it is at the very first, because there are some organizations where they go through step by steps, like sometimes they automate one process and then after a couple of years the second, or maybe it's the foundation level. What are the barriers that you will come experience, and how would one get through those things?
Okay, thank you so much. The first barrier, or the first challenge that we have experienced is the leadership understanding what AI is. One of the speakers has spoken about digitalization. They've spoken about automation. That is not AI. Yeah. AI goes further than that. AI looks at the data that you have and predicts. One of the people in the crowd said, if it's not predictive, it's not AI. Because what we want is to have something that tells us what's going to happen in the future. Right. So one of the first challenges that we've had is leadership not knowing what they want from the process. And once leadership cannot define what they want from the process, it's wrong. As you say, we'll get back to where we were. The second, again linked to leadership, is employees. Employees need to have the confidence in the leadership, in the direction that the organization is going. A lot of employees are scared about AI because it's said that AI is going to take jobs. But what we are facing in the near future is an augmentation, not a total takeover. Perhaps we can't speak about robots taking over now, but in the near future, it's going to be about augmentation. There is where AI ends, and humans still need to intervene in the process. So one of the challenges is to make sure that the employees that you have, because these are the operatives, you need to take them with you in your AI journey. Once you leave the employees, there is no AI journey that you're going to.
Yeah, very good. I think a good leader is always one who puts the cookies on the lower shelf, as said by John C. Maxwell, the Grow in Leadership, and I think that applies to everything. And Akona, would you like to add on to the same question around some of the barriers and challenges we would have, and it is inevitable we'll come through those things. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, sure, thanks. So I think some of the barriers that we have, just to touch on Edith's last point, is not taking employees on the journey. So I think we accept that people will be at different levels insofar as their knowledge, insofar as their penchant to accept what it is that AI can actually provide, right? And often the mistake that we make, which turns into a barrier, is because as HR, we're at the forefront insofar as the engagements, looking at the tools, what can it do, how is it aligned to the objectives of the organization, right? So we have all of this information at our disposal. But because we don't employ the right practices, right, and in a holistic fashion, I've seen organizations sending out an email to say, this is what we're doing from next week or from next month. There's nothing else that has happened. There's no other engagement. There's no Q&A. There's no engagement at line manager level, etc., right? And what then happens is it becomes an HR thing. AI is the HR thing. And you never want it to be that, because employees get their backs up, your trust is eroded, they don't understand it. And as human beings, we fear what we do not understand. And therefore, what happens is, inevitably, your executive level is probably socialized. They probably would have had to sign off on the budget, etc. And then we also forget about that critical level in terms of line managers. If your line managers don't buy into it, you're going to have a fundamental problem, because those are the individuals that become the proponents insofar as their experience in terms of using the AI, what the benefits are, and this is what trickles down into the workforce. So I think often we get carried away and we run with it because we understand the benefits, but we don't take everybody on that journey with us, and that's when the key barriers start to come into play.
Thank you, kind of very rightly shared. Kumari, what would you like to add on to that? I'm sure in Sri Lanka is going through a very good progressive time in their economy, and I'm sure lots of these manual processes are being automated, and there's transformation happening. Sharing from your country and, of course, the company that you work for, what are some of the barriers you have seen, and how are you adapting to these changes that you see in your nation?
Yeah, thank you. So I would approach it with the 3 C's. Yes. So we just have to go back to the basics. Communication matters, collaboration matters, and creating champions. So communication has been stressed upon by most of the speakers during yesterday and today. So you have to communicate why you're doing this. They have to understand what is it for them. So you need to connect it to the company's goals, and they have to understand that they are really going to benefit from it as well, because a lot of the fear factor is because there is no communication from the beginning, and it has to happen throughout. Secondly, it's collaboration. You have to create a culture of collaboration. It's not going to be IT or HR's project. It's something that has to be done by everybody across the company. You can't work in silos if you want this to be effective. And thirdly, is creating champions. What I mean by this is there are people who get on board with it. So we have to celebrate the little wins you achieve in this project and get these people to convince others that this is going to really work. So those are some of the 3 things I would say you need to really focus on to make it a success.
Thank you. I have a question to the audience. How many of you have seen a change that was made in your organization? You never heard about it, but you came to work on a Monday or during the week and you saw it on the notice board. How many of you have seen? I'm sure we all have experienced one way or the other, right? Either maybe nowadays you don't use notice boards, probably emails, and you always wonder, what? Or what is this, right? And obviously such cases will go into the side where people may not join with you. And before I get into the next question, I'm from the resource and hotel industry based in the Maldives. So we think our company, Lux Resorts and Hotels, once we wanted to bring a very powerful CRM system. Probably many of you have heard about the Salesforce. So once our CEO wanted to bring it, he loved it. And he could have said to everyone, we got to do this. But he didn't do it that way. He actually invited the key people, our VP of Information Technology, the VP of Sales, the top people to a conference that was happening in Singapore by Salesforce, so that everyone could understand what Salesforce and how the CRM component of it works. And after that, they all realized, well, this is what we should do. Imagine if the CEO didn't do that, it would have been a bit of challenge. So in all our companies, we all have success stories and stories we could learn from it. I wouldn't call it as a failure. I would say it's opportunities for us to learn. Probably go back to you with your, what are some of the successful stories or a story that you could share with some of the transformation work that you have done, whereby we involve our people and then the processes and the automation?
Sure, thank you. It's quite coincidental that it's come to me. I'm not sure how many in the audience would have heard the name of the organization that I represent. It's called Kyndryl. It's okay if you do not know. If you know the name, please raise your hands. Kyndryl. Thank you very much. So Kyndryl is a spin-off. It's an IT services organization, and it's a spin-off from IBM. How many of you have heard the term IBM? Everybody? Thank you. So we spun off into a 90,000 employee strength and we are worth 19 billion in the New York Stock Exchange 3 years ago. So you can imagine moving 90,000 employees with an average working span of 15 plus years in the organization and tell them that, you know what, from the next 6 months, we're going to spin off and you're going to become a whole new person. That's like trying to tell them that your DNA is going to change. And when we wanted to do that DNA change, what we adopted was not, here we go, but what we adopted was, let's go. So that's something that we did. And we had to change everything culturally. And for that, I know somebody also mentioned it, we formed a team of influencers, and I belong to that, which was called the CAN team, the Culture Ambassador Network, where we voluntarily got people from across 66 countries where we're present to come up and bring on the new culture and the transformation. So we had to move, transform, and evolve for the better, move away from all the tools that we had been using in our career, move away with the way we dealt with clients over 100 plus years of IBM DNA, and tell them we start fresh. And that's why we picked the tagline, Heart of Progress. You can imagine a technology company picking the word heart to talk about progress. So in that, I think the AI portion of it came very late, because what came in first was the intelligence that I bring to the organization, and that's the cultural change that we brought. And for everyone here in the room, I'm sure all of us have been in different phases of our life. When we were 5, maybe I wanted to be a teacher. When I was 15, I wanted to be a radio jockey. When I was 18, I did become a radio jockey though. So and then I transitioned and became a video jockey, and then I became an air hostess, and then I came into IT. Was any of this connected? Absolutely not. What did I do? I transformed, picked myself, and changed. So I'm sure everyone here has also transformed quite a bit and changed. The only thing that I think everyone expects from our teams is that we expect transformation to come in quickly. It does not happen. It takes 40 years to gray your hair. You have to give your team at least 4 years for them to evolve and accept and move on. That's my take.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Essie, what's your take on that same question around some of the successful stories? Or maybe do you have a situation where you tried something, it didn't work. What did you learn from it, and how did you go back and try to implement it again?
Okay. Thank you. So 2 things. Before I answer that question, for us, AI is assistive intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence. I don't know if any company today has actually implemented artificial intelligence processes. They may be on the road, on the journey, but it takes time. Having said that, in 2023 May, we were mandated with digitizing and digitalizing some of the processes across the business enablement functions. In HR, we took up the challenge. The entire HR reporting system, that is the dashboarding, was digitized in phases. Now, digitization doesn't mean that everything is automated. Somebody will have to maintain that Excel sheet, right? Only then will the data be fed into the systems to generate the desired output, which can be taken for use further by people who matter. Yes, we used Power BI extensively to digitize the dashboards, and today at the click of a button, every report about HR can be seen. I'm saying in a positive way, we have reduced headcount in the HR team. We haven't fired people, but when they left, we did not replace those positions. And some of them, we have given them extra responsibilities within other functions of HR. Coming to L&D, we have generated bite-sized learning modules using AI tools, be it 11 AI for voice, be it Canva AI for the content or Copilot, and these are maximum for about 4 to 5 minutes duration, and people, our employees can view them at leisure at their own free time. So that is something which we have done. Today, it is mandated that all the other processes in the organization have to be digitized. I would rather use the term workflow automation rather than AI, right? AI will take time. And as one of my colleagues in the previous panel mentioned, that it is not just about implementing a technological process. You have to evaluate whether your own organization needs that. Anything which is fancy does not come. Sanjeev, you said that, right? Anything which is fancy to be done by the world doesn't mean that you do it. Whether it's important, what is the business ROI on it? That needs to be calculated because there's a cost to everything, right? So yes, we have had successes in change, but we have carefully evaluated what we need to do and what we don't need to do. And I represent an organization which is into education and skilling. I represent AppTech, which has been there since 1986. And we recognize that AI in whatever form, be it Gen AI or Agentic AI or whatever future AI comes up, is going to be a part of our daily life in some form or the other. So in our courses for our students, we are building those AI modules so that they are prepared for the future.
Thank you. The topic we're deliberating this afternoon is around the future of workplace, future of workspace, and how do we get employees involved in the AI transformation. At this point, I would like to ask the audience what questions you would like to ask us so as to make sure that we can respond before I go with one more question with our panelist team here. Anyone from the audience would like to ask a question from our team around the transformation, employee, involving the employees in the process? No? Oh, good. So I guess then we'll come back probably to the very end once again to see if audience there's any question I would like to ask on. So at this point, I would like to ask around the best practices. Now we spoke a little bit about the mindset, the leadership, spoke about the challenges, the barriers, how we can overcome those things. And also we spoke about success stories and things we can learn. What are some of the, let's say, if we were to have a checklist that perhaps can evolve along the way, what are some of the best practices we could follow if we were to involve employees in this AI transformation process? Over to you, Edith.
Thank you. I think the first will be to define the core competencies of the business. It's nice to have everything, but it's important for us to understand. For example, if you're a sales organization, you want to make sure that the AI starts in your core business. What are your core competencies? And by that, you're also going to have to develop new performance metrics because you can't measure your performance based on the old way. If you're going to have AI, or if you're going to go into a transformation, you need to have new competences. Coming to work late is not going to be a metric when you have AI. If you've got somebody who's working from home, it's not going to matter at all. Secondly, you need to look at your multi-generational workforce. Because we've spoken since morning that in our workforce, we have the young, we have the middle-aged, and we've got the elderly. They understand AI at different levels, so you need to embrace that. One of the things that I've been reading about a lot and that we're actually trying out is reverse mentorship. Before, we used to have the older people mentoring the young people. But now, because these are digital natives, they understand AI more than the older people. We still need the older people for the stability, the relaxed mindset, because the younger people, they're eager to go, they're raring, they have the skills, but they need the guidance also of the older folk. The older folk have the experience, but they need the AI skills from the younger generation. So reverse mentorship is going to be very important as we go along. And in terms of attraction, you need to have tech-savvy recruitment systems. Imagine asking for tech-savvy employees, and then you're asking them to fill in a paper. when they're being recruited. Your systems have to be AI driven. You have to be able to attract these tech-savvy generation of employees that we have. We will never, ever under or over communicate about communication. Communication will remain the foundation of any AI-driven transformation in any part of this world. I'm coming from Zimbabwe and I've heard communication a lot. It's still the same thing. We need to communicate. And in terms of upskilling and reskilling, we need to also link these to the core capabilities of the business. It's no use teaching our employees things that they're not going to be able to use. We need to make sure that whatever we upskill, whatever skills that we require them to have is linked to the business and overly linked to also what they can contribute to the overall business. I think basically...
Quite a list that you shared, Edith. I would like to check with you. You've got 1 or 2 points to add on to that, please.
Sure, thanks.
We're talking about the best practices one can follow when it comes to implementation, bringing people with us. So, what do you?
Sure. And I think the perspective that I can share coming from an employee relations background, I think a couple of key themes, which is around authenticity, transparency as well, right? So very often in the drive for us to get employees, et cetera, to buy into these benefits that we see in terms of AI, we tend to gloss over the elements that we don't necessarily know that well, or the elements that could pose a risk, right? Because I think taking on any AI tool, yes, you probably will get 90% there, especially if you've done the matching correct, but there is always that small percentage where you know there's a little bit of a margin for error, right? So when we go into these sessions and we engage without giving a balanced view insofar as saying, but if at any point in time you're encountering a challenge or you're feeling that the insights that have been generated, something's not quite matching up, or you feel that we've taken the wrong decision or whatever the case may be, then speak to us, right? If we don't open that door and be vulnerable as HR for our people to be able to say, I hear what you're saying, but I think this is a gap, we're never going to get to the point where we can actually improve continuously those systems to get to where we need to. Last point is around feedback, right? Feedback is critically important. We need to be open to that criticism, right? If it is such that the outcome that has been generated because of our use of AI is not aligned to either our values or our processes, our systems, or even from a legal compliance point of view, if we don't open the door for our people to be able to tell us that, whether they're the recipients in terms of the end results, whether they're the users, whether they're the executives, it doesn't really matter. As long as they're a stakeholder, we need to give them the opportunity to give us the feedback. Otherwise, we're simply going to repeat the mistakes and it's going to erode whatever success we actually might have achieved insofar as having our people actually buy in and become proponents of the AI that we've instituted.
Thank you. I mean, we all know that nothing works as per the plan. And the world is an uncertain place, has always been, and will always be. Kumari, you got any point to add on to that? They gave a very long list. May you add 1 or 2 points you have, please. The question around the best practices that we need to follow in organizations and bring in the AI transformation for the future of work.
So once again, I would reiterate on the basics, going back to communication and building that culture of collaboration, and then there's be continuous learning for them. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Continuous learning is important. Before we do a closing remark from my panelists here, audience, anyone would like to ask a question around the topic of future of work transformation or transforming or taking employees on the experience? Yeah, there's 2 reasons why audience may not ask the question. One is either you really enjoyed what we have shared. If that's the case, can you all give us a round of applause? Thank you. The second reason why you didn't ask question is because you really want to finish this part. Either way, I'm happy. We're happy. Right? So, therefore, the last and closing remarks, please do keep it to 30 seconds. the question is, as we don't know what the future is going to, but yesterday and today, many speakers really shared the important things that we need to focus on in the future. How do you see the future of AI and the people transformation? Please keep it to 30 seconds. Thank you. Over to you, Vidya.
Okay, so how many singles do we have in the room? Right, so all the singles, do you have at least 5 things on your criteria list to match with someone? At least 5 things? Only 3 things. Okay, so that's a limited man for all the women in the room. Okay, you're looking for a man. Great. So all the single men, there you have someone who's really limited. So for everyone who has been, who is legally single, if I may say that, if you have 5 things on your list, maybe you have 5 things on your list, or everyone who's wedded in a relationship, maybe you have 5 things from a relationship that you expect. Do you get all 5? Do you get 3? What do you do to the remaining 2? Sorry, nothing? Sir is very experienced. He says nothing. What about the others? What do we do to the remaining 2? Adjust? Compromise? Look for another person? I like that. Okay, so we go mid-path, right? So we come midway, and then I'm hoping the other person in the relationship also comes midway. So I think that's the future of AI. Your employees will come midway. Let's go midway from the leadership as well. I think that's going to really help us.
Take as it comes, right? Edith, what's your final closing remarks on the topic of future? How do you foresee it?
The future is bright.
Good, thank you.
We just need to augment
Let's give
it.
a round of applause for saying that.
It's bright.
Yeah.
It's really bright. We can't not embrace AI. We have to embrace it. Some are at a higher level, some are at a lower level, but we'll meet somewhere. I think basically that's it.
Very good, thank you, thank you. SC, what's your take on the future of where we are heading to? A closing remark.
AI is here to stay. In what form, we don't know, because none of us are astrologers. We can't see the future. But yes, it is here to stay. The only thing I would say is, before embarking on the journey, we need to be cautious. We need to understand what is the business case in every organization, and only then proceed on the path. That is a word of caution, but AI is already there. Siri listens to every conversation we have, or every. Sometimes I think even Instagram has some sort of intelligence where it senses what we think, because you see the reels popping up and you never know what's happening. Yeah. So you don't know. So AI is there whether we like it or we don't like it. But we need to exercise some caution in proceeding with it and understanding what is the ROI. That's my...
Very good, thank you. Kumari, what's your prediction for the future on this?
AI is an enabler, but humans don't need to really worry because they have EQ with them, empathy with them. So, and we have to stay ahead of the game. So main thing is you need to use it as a tool. Humans created AI. We need to know how to use it, but still we need to be ahead of it.
Thank you very much. Akona, your last remarks on the topic. Yeah, closing remarks.
Sure, thanks. I think I agree with the sentiment that it's here to stay. I think it's something that's going to go from strength to strength, right? And I also think that that will be the case, especially so if we don't, as organizations, employ a one-size-fits-all approach, because that's not what it is. And if that's the approach that we put into practice in our organizations, it's going to fall flat, and then it's going to be a very difficult journey to get to where we need to. But insofar as what the future holds, I think only good things, especially if we, as the human beings, the employees, the leaders, etc., if we can get on that bus and start to change our own mindset around it, then we're certainly going to go from strength to strength.
Thank you very much. Once again, give them a round of applause for sharing this as a closing remark from my side as the moderator for this panel. Definitely, I agree with Akona, what you also mentioned. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach, it's one-size-fits-one approach. And the most important thing is that AI transformation, AI does actually not have any value in it, unless we as humans use it. Actually, we're the people who put the values to it. So all stakeholders should be involved, and it always change starts with the mindset that we bring in. If we say it's not going to work, it's not going to work. If we say it's going to work, it will. Because what we think is what we believe is what we do is the result that we get. And also, give us a round of applause, please. Thank you. Thank you.